People learn from one another just as iron sharpens iron. Proverbs 27:17 G&T.
I have got Riley Clemmons here in studio with me. Riley, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so good. Now, I am absolutely cooking in the studio and you're wearing a leather jacket. Are you okay?
I'm great. I don't know what it is. I think my body's deeply confused because I've come from Nashville. We're in the middle of a hot summer. It is cooking over there. You step outside, you're sweating. You take a shower, you're sweating still because you're still hot. And my dad has this joke. He's like, when you take a shower in Nashville in the summer, try to get cleaned up in the summer in Nashville, the shower doesn't take.
It just
doesn't happen.
What is even the point?
What is the point?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's so
here it's like
here.
winter, basically.
It is.
Bringing out the leather jackets.
I'm having a great time. Yeah.
Hey, when I was telling the Facebook community team about you, one of the ladies posted a comment. And so before we get into today's verse, I wanted to read out her comment.
Okay.
And you can answer. She's got a couple of questions here, so you can
we love that.
pick which one you want to go into. So she said, I absolutely love Riley and her music. 2 songs in particular that speak deeply to me are Miracle and Fighting for Me. If you get any time, can you please thank her and ask her in particular with these 2 songs if there's anything she might like to share about how they came to be?
Oh, well, thank you, whoever you are.
Kylie?
Kylie, thanks, Kylie. Those are great questions. Those are 2 of my favorite songs of mine as well. I have a hard time picking favorite songs. It feels like what I would think it would be to pick a favorite child.
Yeah. I think so. Both of us don't have kids, so I'm assuming that's the best analogy.
Probably. I mean, that feels right.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I love songwriting. I'm a Nashvilleian, born and raised, and so writing songs and telling stories through music has just been a part of my DNA for as long as I can remember. And both of these songs have really special stories. So Fighting for Me, I wrote when I was 18. That song really did change my life in a multitude of ways. But I remember walking into the studio, and I was writing with 2 of my friends, Ethan Holst, Jordan Sapp. They're amazing, incredible writers, incredible talents. And walking into the studio, you start a session. It's like, well, do you have any ideas? Do you know what you want to write? Is anything going on in your life? And I remember saying something along the lines of, I don't want to write a song today.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. I remember being so much in the space of, I'm not feeling it. It's just one of those days. I'm in a bad mood. I'm a little grumpy.
It's the worst time and someone's like, right, now write a worship song. And
I
you're
know.
just like, I'm not quite ready right
now. Well, and that's the thing that got me. And I look back on this story often. But in that moment, the kindness of my friends in the room who I was writing with that day, I think it was Ethan who said this to me. Could have been Jordan. I think it was Ethan, though. Said, okay, well, what do you need to hear? Like, what would be helpful for you to hear today? Mm-hmm. And so we started to have this conversation of, no matter who you are or what you believe, whether you're Christian or not, whether you come from a family background or a broken heart, whatever it is, I believe that all people intrinsically at the cellular core of our beings have a desire to be fought for in such a way that shows up as unconditional love. I think that changes perspective, it changes lives, and it allows humanity, especially in our current culture where we run around with our fists clenched up, ready to either go into combat or scared to death. And the love of God, knowing that he's fighting for us, allows us to unclench the fists and allow some relaxation to come and step in. And so Fighting for Me was a song that was singing over my anxiety that day, that was singing over the bad mood that I was in, the weakness I was feeling. And so that song in particular, I would say was written more in faith and less from feeling, if that makes sense. Because I wasn't feeling it that day. I don't know if I would have been like, I totally believe this today. This is great. It was one of those songs where I was like, I want to believe this to be true, and so I will speak it over myself and sing it over myself.
Oh gosh, I love it. And for those of you listening, you wouldn't have obviously seen this, but Riley was clenching her hands physically and releasing it. It's like when you know that someone's fighting for you, you don't have to hold on so tight to the weapon, so to speak.
Yes.
And your hands are open to receive, to hold on to whatever else God has for you. Yeah. And I think it actually speaks to the strength of that song as well. There's something about like not waiting for the feelings to propel you to do something in faith. It's like, no, I know who God is. I know your track record. My feelings will catch up. It's like willing yourself to worship. It's willing yourself to step into a space that you know you need to be in. It's discipline as well, because that wouldn't have happened overnight. You probably have had other experiences where you said, nah, feelings, you're going to have to park yourself over there. I'm here to serve.
Our feelings are too variable to equate them to faith. I think that faith is, there's a great verse in Hebrews that I'm trying to remember, but I'll sidebar on that. You can put it in later. But I come back to it often. But I think that faith is a choice. It's something that we recommit to every day. And it's something that on the hard days, maybe it's a little bit harder to choose, and on the easy days maybe it's a little bit easier to choose. But I really do believe that choosing faith is the discipline of sometimes like opening up your hands and unclenching your fist when you feel like it's going to spin you out of control. Even now, this is a fun thing I catch myself doing all the time. I saw it. I was scrolling through social media the other day and read it, and I was like, everybody that is listening to this, whether you're in your car or driving or whatever, just relax your jaw.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize mine was clenched.
I know. I know. Oh. Like, roll your shoulders back and relax your jaw. I don't realize how often I do it either.
We're just like uptight.
Yeah, we live clenched sometimes.
Oh, well, there we go. Live unclenched. Title of today's episode, I think.
Should we co-write a book?
I think. Live the power of living unclenched.
Unclenched. Oh, man. That's so good. That's so good. Miracle was like that, too, to answer your question, Kylie. Miracle was another, that one was more of a song that I was able to experience and write more from a feeling. When I was writing this album, I really wanted a proper love song on it. I think all of us would agree to some point that our culture lacks no song about hookups, breakups, one night stands, blah, blah, blah. But at this current moment, there is a serious lack of songs that are about real love, about the godly kind of love that inspires us to be better and be kinder and be more selfless and all of those beautiful things that we strive for. Yeah. And so Miracle is a song about that kind of love and how that kind of love has changed my life. And it's just been so special to watch people welcome it into their own lives, whether it's their weddings and romantic love or miracle babies or it's been really beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, you must just have so much joy when you see people like reposting your song alongside something God's doing in their life as well, which is just, it must be so rewarding for you.
It's just crazy.
And it all came back to that moment where, and this is what baffles me, it all came, like all of these amazing stories, Kylie's testimony, Kylie's connection to that song. It takes us all back to that moment in that studio where you had a choice to make faith or feelings. You chose faith. And, see what God can do with that, which is amazing.
Certainly not in my own power.
Yeah.
I'm too inconsistent for that. So thank you, Jesus, for meeting me.
Yeah.
Meet me where I was.
Yeah. No, he's so good like that. But, I mean, credit where credit is due. That would have been a muscle you would have had to build in other ways before that moment as well. Now, today we're talking about friendship, and it's interesting how you were talking about in that room you had one of your friends who said to you, what was the question he asked you? What do you need? What do you need from me? Or remember something you were sort of not feeling in the right headspace, and he asked a question. What was that?
What do you need to hear today?
What do you need to hear today?
What in the current mental state that you're in, instead of trying to write something that you think other people need to hear or write something that you think sounds nice, why don't you write a song for yourself in that sense? Why don't you write the affirmation that you need, the worship that you need right now?
Yeah. And I think that's the strength of that room as well, because there was a whole dynamic going on between you and your heart and where you are with Jesus. But you had people in the room there. And as this verse says, they sharpened you. They brought out the best in you. And it's so important to surround ourselves with people who sharpen us. Do you have a story of someone in your life? And here's the thing I want to say. The people who sharpen us aren't always our friends. Sometimes the people who come along and sharpen us, you're just like, I know, God, you're trying to teach me something through my interaction with this person. But have you got a story of a sharp person who was sent to sharpen you, whether they were a friend or weren't? How did that journey go?
There have been so many moments I can look back on throughout my life and see that, oh, yeah, that's what that was. That was me being sharpened. That was you sending a person who I needed. I think that one of my favorite examples as of recently, and this came to mind just given, I'm in the middle of promoting an album and out on the road and all of these things, and it gets so busy and hectic and the business can be a little crazy. But I have a friend in the business, Ellie Holcomb. Do you know Ellie over here?
I do. I love her music.
I do too. I'm such a fan of Ellie. And I've been a fan of her for years. And recently we started writing together, and it's been a few years now, but she wrote a song on the record with me. And she's been one of the people, more specifically one of the creative women that I've also gotten to see in the music industry and handle it with such grace. Whenever I'm in the studio with her, she pours so much wisdom into my spirit, and especially in the season that I was going through of burnout and comparison and this constant striving, Ellie is so intentional and was so intentional with me about disarming me in a sort of way that helps you reflect, but why are we comparing ourselves? Where does that come from? She is wise in the sense that it's not just, dropping wisdom and then walking away from it. She has sat with me in a lot of discomfort of those questions, whether she realizes it or not. But that's just been an example of an incredibly strong woman who has been a beautiful example of what it's like to lead imperfectly, yet with humility and kindness and a non-judgmental presence.
Yeah. And that's powerful. I love how you said the gentleness, because it's interesting because sharpening can happen slowly, it can happen quickly. Still sharpening though. I think God knows exactly where we're at and provides the right people. Sometimes we need that little sharp little person to chip away at some stuff. And then sometimes he brings along someone, a little bit like this gentle sandpaper, and they just sit with you and you don't even realize it, but you look at yourself a year or two later and you're like, wow, this person sharpened me.
Yes.
In a beautifully gentle way.
That's well said.
That's amazing. Riley, this has been such an incredible conversation. And, for you listening right now, so many nuggets to take away from this. My encouragement to you listening from me as someone who has gone through sharpening of the aggressive kind and the not so aggressive kind, keep your eyes on Jesus. He is the best friend. He is the best, most gentle sharpener. So don't get lost in the sharpening. Remember what it's for and who's behind the purpose of it. So Proverbs 27:17. Riley, look forward to catching up again tomorrow.
I know, me too. And one more thought on that, because it just is on my heart and I feel like somebody needs to hear it.
Yes.
I think it's also, just like it's important for us ourselves to be sharpened, I think it's also really important to not run away from the people in our lives who, oh gosh, they need to be sharpened a little bit more than I think that it's really important to walk with people to mutually sharpen each other. I have friends who are non-believers and friends who are believers, and I think it's important to love them all the same and sharpen them in ways that meet them where they're at and point to Jesus. So stand by your people.